Yeah, I guess people are still joining. Just wait for few more minutes. Then they will start.
Sure.
I think we should start. People will join, right? Yeah. Yeah. So good
Sure.
evening, everyone. Today we have two great personalities with us like Yash Kumar Verma and Pragati Verma. One has completed the MLH Fellowship, and one is going to begin in just 2 days. So, talking about Pragati, Pragati is now an MLH Fellow, and she is a DSC lead. She is the winner of SIS 2020. She is also an Microsoft Learnstone Ambassador, G-Shock 20 mentor, and she is a full stack web developer. And Yash is also an MLH Fellow, is the mentor of Google Season of Docs. He is the Coding Blocks Boss 2020 winner and a GCI finalist. Like if I left something, I would like you both to go on with your introduction of yourself.
Yes, please. Being the senior, please continue.
Okay, so I guess there's some misunderstanding. I'm not the senior in here, and yep, I guess you've covered almost everything, and it's just that I am a maintainer in a few projects for Position and Circuitverse,
Yeah,
and that is kind of it. So,
that's great.
please.
Pragati.
Okay. I guess, yeah, we may have missed a few things. Like, I was also a GCI mentor for Circuitverse last year, and I have been a contributor to Force Asia and Circuitverse. I've contributed to a few projects there. So, yeah, other than that, I guess everything you already told.
Like frankly speaking, when my team saw both of your profiles, we were like, अब बचा ही क्या है? बस अब FANG company से offer ही आना बचा है.
Well,
Okay,
hoping so.
so we would like to know more about like what is MLH and what is this MLH fellowship program?
So the fellowship program was introduced just after the COVID thing had started, and a lot of students had basically missed or their internship opportunities were cancelled because of the pandemic. So MLH and Facebook and a few other sponsors like Dev.to, Raise.dev, all these came together and they decided to formulate a new program in which people would be working on open source, but at the same time, because like they have missed the internship opportunity, they would get the stipend for it as well. So it is
Okay.
kind of like Google Summer of Code,
G-Shock.
but
Yeah.
the only difference is in Google Summer of Code we have proposals and a community contribution period and everything. But in the MLH Fellowship, it's more like what you have done previously. That along with the code review and everything that you have, like they have a proper selection process, and you have to clear that out, and then you basically work not for MLH or not exactly for any of the sponsors, but there are a few organizations that have partnered with MLH, and you contribute code to them. So you will be assigned mentors, and you will be like perfectly guided into the right direction and like how to proceed. That
Yeah,
is like this
one of
is
the main differences in other open source programs like GSOC and MLH Fellowship would be that you will be actually working in pods, which is a team of 9 to 10 people, and they will be. I mean, you will be provided a pod mentor as well as you would be contributing to these projects along with some team members. So it's like working in collaboration. Otherwise, in GSOC, it would be one organization chooses 1 or 2 people,
Yeah.
and you'll be working based on what you proposed in your proposal. But here you are being provided the guidance as well as the opportunity to work on these projects. So that's something that separates MLH from other open source opportunities.
Yeah. So what are the works as an MLS fellow? Like, or like you have to work on any project or something?
Uh,
yep.
this time, this time they have introduced 3 different tracks. You could choose one of those tracks. One is open source, another one is explorer, and the third one is externship. So these are 3 different tracks in the program itself. So you can choose either one of them, and depending on that. Like in explorer track, I guess the mentor would provide you with some guidance for making some personal projects, some great ideas. You'll be making projects with the mentor and your team members. Whereas in open source track, you will be contributing to some open source projects, and in externship track, you'll be contributing to some of the organizations that MLH has partnered with. So
Okay.
these are like 3 different tracks that you can contribute to.
And yes, like you have experienced this fellowship program, so we would love to listen like a life of an MLS fellow.
Yep. So like being participating in MLH fellowship and calling it work would be like definitely wrong, because work is just one aspect of being an MLH fellow, and there's a lot that goes alongside it. For instance, in an internship that basically is a replacement of this, you'd be required to work in a corporate environment. You'll have your bosses and the targets that you need to achieve. But in case of the fellowship, it's more like a fun filled thing. So I'll tell you what happened. Like in the onboarding process, it lasts for about 1 week, and we had a hackathon. So when we were divided into teams, we were supposed to like divide into like sub teams of about 3 or 4 people, and then we were supposed to, because yeah, it's sponsored by MLH, so expect hackathons in between as well. So we had about, yeah, we have about two full fledged hackathons. So that's something. Plus, you'll have a lot of opportunities to connect to people. Plus, there are a lot of sessions that are taken by industry experts. The mentors would also take sessions. We'll have people from different places coming on to take sessions, and yeah, there's a ritual in the MLH fellowship that's called the daily stand up. So I'll tell you, because that's something that I really miss after the fellowship has ended. The daily stand up was like every morning the mentor fixes a time which basically coordinates with the time zones in which everyone works. So for us, it was about 11 a.m. in the morning, because we had a few friends from the Southeast Asia as well. So in that, you have to tell what you're going to do today and what's your agenda for today, what you did the previous day, and what all things that you have faced issues in. We call that those as blockers. Plus, there's a separate section that's called the shoutouts. So if someone has done some like exemplary work, if they have helped you out, so you can take that opportunity to thank them or basically praise them out in public. So that is what that happens like all the days. Then on Wednesdays, we used to have a thing that's called a show and tell. Okay, the structure of the fellowship is that they select a pool of people and then they divide them into different pods. A pod, as Pragati has already told, a pod is about a group of 9 to 10 people plus a mentor. I mean, that's how it was last year. So yeah. So each pod will have one of the people presenting something that they know. That's called a show and tell. So it's about hour and a half long presentation. And if I know app development, then I can take a session on app development. App development. If someone does CTFs, they can take a session on CTFs. So that's a ritual that happens like almost every week. So every week you're going to explore new things apart from the work that you're already doing. Plus, you can there are games, there are hangout sessions for our pod as in particular. Every Friday we used to play Scribble after the reporting that we used to do, or like all nine of us used to play that. And on every Friday, there's one more thing that's called the team retrospective. So team retrospective is like to basically sum up all what we have done in this particular week, and then it allows you to like look back what all things you could have improved and what all things that need to be worked upon. If someone has like again done few good things during the week, you can also appreciate them in that. So that is one of the like cultivating good practices how you should work, not even when you're in a corporate environment but also when you're in open source. So that is particularly the gist of a life of an MLH fellow.
An
and you
exciting
and
life.
and yeah, and believe me, you end up missing a lot when the fellowship ends. That's what's happening with me right now.
So we have one question from Pallavi. Like, tell us about MLH Fellowship. So Pallavi, we answered it, and like how to grab it. So what is the procedure of application, and what after filling the application? So if you can tell us about it.
Yeah, so now the program is divided into three different batches, as you may have seen:
Yeah.
fall, spring, and summer. So, fall has already started, but the applications are still open for spring and summer. So, you could just go onto their website, and applications are still open. So, you can just fill out the application. It's somewhat a long application, but most of the questions are like MCQ type, what are the technologies you're familiar with, or what technology would you like to work on. And there would be just two or three essay type questions, like you have to explain some um, code that you want to show in your interview. And after getting shortlisted in the first round, that is based on your application, there would be two rounds of interviews. The first one is a normal interview, like HR kind of, and the next one would be a technical interview, where you are supposed to talk about the code that you had filled up in your application. So that's the procedure.
Okay. So any suggestion you would like to the people who will be filling the form?
I guess the first and the foremost suggestion from my side would be that fill up the code in the application that you're most confident about. Like if you need to fill up why that particular piece of code was exciting as well as challenging to you. And the same piece of code you need to talk about in your technical interview. So, yeah, fill it pretty much confidently, and explain the essay type questions really well. Like, don't write just short answers like it was a very good project because I made it. Like, you need to properly explain it. What was the thing that you were aiming to do, and how your skills were applied to it, or how it benefited the community. That is one thing that MLH is very keen about. How was your project, or how was your piece of code really beneficial to the community at large?
Okay. And any suggestion from you? Yes.
Yes, definitely. So I believe that people sometimes take these applications like very seriously, and my single message to them is try to take them a bit easy. For instance, like if I tell you my personal story about the code that I submitted and the interviews that went on. So I was just exploring TypeScript those days. So I just made a project in TypeScript. I mean, when I was learning TypeScript, I made that project just to try out the things that TypeScript had. Plus, I was also trying out React side by side, so I made a front end for that application in React. Now, you can well imagine the type of code sometimes someone writes when they're just like reading the documentation and trying things out. So, the backend and the front end, I built both of these things while learning TypeScript and React, and that is the code that I had submitted there. So, do not like be very much afraid about the quality of code that you are sending. I mean, yes, the code must be clear, it must be readable, it must like speak for itself, it must not take hours and hours for different person to understand. Because in open source, like of all the experiences that I've had till now, code is like written more times than it's actually edited or refactored. So make your code so that other people can easily have access to it, and other people can easily go through it without like documentation should be a second part. If someone who knows that language and is trying to see your code, they must be like easily able to move through the code, like okay, now the request is passing through this particular module, this controller, this routes and everything. And regarding the second interview, that was the technical round. So mine started off with the project that I built, but it ended up like in a completely different direction. What happened was I kind of wrote a Node.js framework, and I was just exploring how Express used to work under the hood. So I wrote a framework by myself, and it was there on my GitHub profile. So the interviewer, I remember, he was John Britton. He's the CEO of Raise.dev. He himself was taking the interview at that time. So he just kept on asking me the insights of how Express used to work, like under the hood. So my interview kind of started from the code structure that I wrote, and as soon as I explained him the code structure, it completely shifted off to Express. So it can be random as well. I mean, you you cannot be always 100% prepared for it. So just whatever you're
Yeah.
submitting, be confident about it, and you should be able to explain if any queries arise in that particular code. That's it.
Okay, that's great. So, this MLH fellowship, like, what impact can it create on one's working experience? Like,
I
one friend
guess
asked
Eli
me that
should answer this one.
how it can create a good impact on my resume.
Yes, I would definitely answer that question because it surely has done for me. I was in the team like 0.4.1, right? And the team mainly worked on the Facebook projects. So first thing, now I can show off to my friends that yes, I've worked on Facebook projects. That's really cool. That's really a cool thing to show off. And the second thing is that you get to work on code bases that you usually would not like interact with. For instance, I worked on the React Native code base, and like honestly speaking, I would have never even tried compiling React from source in my entire life, because like what exactly is the need of it? I can simply import it as a module and then use all the functionalities. Now this fellowship has basically allowed me, now I would say it has given me the courage kind of thing to scratch the surface of big projects and understand how everything works on the inside. So that is definitely it. And yes, it's a nice thing to write in the resume as well that your code is currently in production in this particular organization. Yeah, has our host left us?
I guess so.
Yeah, maybe he's having some internet issues.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I also think that this is the most amazing thing about this MLH fellowship. They have such big projects that we as developers usually make use of to make some side projects. And this fellowship actually needs us to contribute to that actual code base that we'll be using to make projects. So, like in the end, it's going to be used by millions of users. What else can you get uh, out of this? Aniket, are you there?
I guess he's having some technical issues. So why don't you share your journey, like how your technical
Yeah, just a
interviews
minute.
were?
Okay. I applied to MLH Fellowship the first time and I was rejected. The reason that they gave me was that my internet connection was poor. So I was like taken aback, like how can they give that kind of reason? Because in India we usually face those kind of issues like Aniket is facing right now. So that was the first experience of mine, but I was determined, like I wanted to participate in this fellowship, so I applied again, and this time I was again shortlisted for the first interview. And then in the first interview, there was just a normal conversation, like there were just normal questions. Tell me something about yourself. So, like HR questions, what we usually have, like do you have any experience of working in a team, etc., etc. So that went pretty well. I also explained a few things about my projects that I've built in the recent months, and my interviewer was quite happy. So yeah, then I moved on to the second round of interview. That my interviewer was also John D. Britton, and uh, an interesting thing would be my interviewer came 10 minutes late for the interview, and the interview is the slot that is given to the MLH fellows is that 10-minute slot itself. So actually, I was like confused. Where is my interviewer? And then John D. Britton showed up, and he said that he was coding for Hacktoberfest because Raise.dev actually is one of the organizers for Hacktoberfest this year. So then my interview started. He asked me a few things about my project. I started explaining, and then, as you said, he actually shifted the conversation completely to another thing. Like I was explaining some Django code that I had written. I was actually explaining my SIS 2020 project that I made, and it used Django REST framework for making the APIs. So I was explaining a particular code piece, and John stopped me there, and he was like, "What if I'm a hacker and I'm trying to access your portal? What would you do?" So I was confused for a little while, like I'm just explaining him a few decorators that I have written to stop the employers from accessing the endpoints that are specific to the employees, and vice versa. So I was explaining a completely different thing, and he went on to a completely different arena. So I was pretty much confused for a few seconds, but then he broke it down to me, and then like he explained me that I should be reading a lot more about how these security issues could be handled in Django. I was kind of nervous because I could not get, like, my interview is going good or bad. But in the end, he ended up being impressed, and he said that I have made a nice project, and he also gave me some feedback and a few more suggestions to include in my project. So, yeah, that was all.
I think I will have to continue off camera.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. So, like, we would like to know more about like the benefits of being an MLH fellow. Like
Um,
this answer could be answered by Yes itself because he has experience in it.
Yeah, like to just name the points, it would be your GitHub profile gets green. You get a complete patch of green on your GitHub profile. Your LinkedIn profile gets a new tag. You have an experience of being an MLH fellow. Your resume gets you have an experience of working in this particular organization. You learn a lot about good coding practices, team management, and like the healthy coding practices. How to, like, very important thing that's called work-life balance, which almost all of the fellows in my particular pod had messed up. Someone used to sleep at 3 a.m., someone used to 4, and someone in the morning. So it was like that. So, and plus you get a lot. You get like the most valuable thing, if you ask me, not on the technical side. It's the things that you learn from your mentor, and like once you meet someone daily for about 3 months straight, and you're having conversations daily. You have meetings of about like uh, the daily stand up is just half an hour, but at the end of the week you have this retrospect, and that's about 1.5 hour long. So when you interact for these long sessions, you develop a very deep understanding of each other, and the mentors kind of then know you inside out. They are able to tell you in what direction you need to move forward, what all things you can like proceed from here on. Plus their own industry experience comes to your use, which would be otherwise very difficult to seek from other places. For instance, my particular mentor Yanni, Mr. Yanni, and he's a like React Native developer, and he just pulled off a new project right in the middle of the fellowship. He was used to like talk about us that okay, I plan to building something like this, and just we had a 1 week of a hackathon, and in that he built out a completely fresh product that reached about 2.4 thousand stars on GitHub just within 3 or 4 days. So you have inspiring stories like this revolving all around, and there's a lots to learn. Even if you just explore the Discord channel of MLH Fellowship, you'll see all the channels that we have there for different technologies, and there are people passionate about each one of them. You can just have a normal chit chat session with them, and you'll get to know a lot. So this personal growth, this technical growth, your networks grow, you hone your communication skills, your programming skills, and everything. That's the best. I mean, what else can you ask for?
Truly. And Pragati, what are your expectations from this MLS fellowship?
My expectations, first of all, it's going to be a lot of technical growth for me. Working on such large projects, it could be great for any of us. As I already said, these softwares that we'll be working on will be ultimately used by millions of developers. Like that's the most amazing thing that I'm so excited about. And the next thing, as Yash pointed out, uh, I'm about to meet my pod members just 2 days after this session. And I'm really excited about meeting so many great developers from across the globe whom I may not have got a chance to meet otherwise if I was not an MLH fellow. So that is going to be another amazing thing, because working in a team, you can learn many different things. You not only grow on the technical side, but also I guess I'll be becoming much better in my soft skills, like um, public speaking, for example, then collaborating in a team. These all things, I guess, MLH Fellowship would be amazing. As Yash already shared his experience, I'm already so excited that it's about to begin.
That's great. And we have one question from Manish Shah. What kind of projects I should submit while applying and precautions I should take in my application and interviews? I got rejected this time for the fall session after the technical round.
I would suggest, first of all, remove the crying emojis and be confident about your application the next time. Uh, One of the suggestions from my side would be, I seriously feel like there are one or two essay type questions where you need to elaborate your projects. We as developers usually build our projects with lots of passion, but when it comes to explain those projects in words, we might be lacking there. So I guess you should be a little more confident in explaining that project. Like they're not directly going to jump onto your project, they'll be reading about your project. So try to write that thing pretty well.
And like what kind of code you should submit, like a full-fledged project or a sample of code, anything?
They actually ask for your GitHub repo link. So um, it's actually said in the application that you should be the major contributor in that piece of code or that project that you are going to submit. So I guess it could be anything, just that you should be confident and you should be fully aware of what you have done in that project. Like if the interviewer asks you anything or stops you at any point, you should be able to explain that thing.
Okay. So I guess Manish, you got your answer, and all the best for the next round.
I mean, it's completely fine if you're not selected for 1 or 2 years. I mean, if you consider the scope of the program, you'll have participants from the entire world, and it's kind of generic for even if you qualify all the criteria, even if you have like these skills that are required, the organization is also limited to select a particular number of people any particular year. So
Okay.
just be positive about it. It happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more question from Nitish Gupta. Out of 20K, only 140 were selected last time. Is project really the only way they judge you on? What other insights can you share that you see can play a big role in the selection?
Um, I don't think the project is the only thing that MLH Fellowship focuses on, because you may find various articles of previous MLH Fellows, and they state that projects were not so extraordinary. But like what people at MLH are actually looking for is your passion about your project. What how you learned about that particular technology and how you have put it into use to make something useful for others. Like in your interviews, more than anything, they'll not be talking to you in the technical terms, but why did you write a certain piece of code in a certain way? Like they want to know the practices more than the project that you have built. The project may not be that big, but how you present it or how confident you feel about your project, that is something that is more important to them. Otherwise, I guess this is something that is making MLH Fellowship different from other programs. Or otherwise, if they had the prime focus on the project, they would be asking for something like proposals. But they're not, because they want to know about your project and what you feel about it. I guess rest,
Okay.
Yash, can you please add something to this?
Yes, see, as I've already said, I mean, the code that I submitted was something that I wrote while learning. So you can well imagine the quality of code that goes in when you are just learning something and trying out new stuff. So I am pretty confident to say that code is not the only thing that matters. Yes, it matters. There's a particular weightage for it, but it is not the only thing that matters. The Your open source profile matters. Yes, it surely matters because that is all it is all about. Plus your zeal to try out new things also matters because you know for instance, I worked on the Facebook React Native project, and you'll see that you work on the projects that might be completely different from the things you have done till now. I would have never ever you know I did React for about a month or so, and then after that, I was contributing to React Native core repository. So the learning curve is steep sometimes for a few open source projects, and that's obvious as well because they are so big. So you must some way or the other showcase that yes, you are willing to learn and you are willing to try out different things as well at the same time. So maybe just try to focus more on that, at least in the application itself, so it can give you a slight advantage.
Okay. And like, what are the stacks of projects on which the people work in MLH Fellowship? Like, I have heard mainly of React Native work. So, what are the other stacks?
The stacks.
There is,
Yeah,
yeah,
please go ahead.
yes, please continue. Okay, I recently got enrolled and I have been given the domain Python. So yeah, I'm sure there are some Python projects out there, and there are also some Android projects as I have seen. And otherwise, Yash, please continue. You're telling something.
So for the last years, for the last program that we had, there were mainly 5 languages that we worked on. That was JavaScript, Python, Julia, Shell, and TypeScript. I mean, you can combine TypeScript and JavaScript. But these were the
Yeah.
top 5 languages, and if you check out, I'll just share the link and ask our host to please post in the comment section. So this is the basically the organization of MLH Fellowship on GitHub, and you would see all the projects that fellows have worked on in all the sessions till now. So these are the languages. Yes, there's Python as well. There's Shell as well. There's Julia as well. But you know, we are not currently experiencing more development in, if you say, Golang. In You would hardly find any projects in Golang this time. So just make sure you check out the projects that the MLH Fellowship organization has, and it would be easy for you to have an idea.
Yeah, and the link is in the comment section, so you can check from there. Okay, if you have any other question, you can post it in the comment section. So till other questions are coming, so what are you both future plans are? Like Yash has completed the fellowship program, so what are you planning ahead?
I I haven't exactly planned anything right now. I am in my third semester in college. I plan to finish off college, and right now I'm trying out different technologies. I mean, more towards the web end part, and mainly like leaving JavaScript for a while, trying out Golang, and diving deep into the backends of things, like backend in the sense like how things work behind the curtains, how what happens inside, how databases are implemented, how databases are written in general. So diving in more into things where even if you like write about 100 lines, you would hardly see a leaf move. That's how it is.
Yeah, like I have seen through your Twitter handle, like you are very fond of JavaScript.
Yes, I'm very fond of JavaScript, but I'm trying out new stuff as well. JavaScript, yep, there's a very technical quotation to it. Like even right now, the port 80 on my local machine is running an Apache server. So that's how PHP is close to me.
Okay,
Even when I'm still in love with JavaScript, but still port 80 is occupied by PHP.
okay. I guess Pragati is now facing some issues.
I guess next I'll be the one to face any internet issues. So I guess we have a question in the chat.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It's Nitish again. I have been working on this project, but thinking of the fact that there are thousands of other building a similar full stack web app always scares me. I always think you have to be extraordinary one.
See, I guess I can answer that pretty easily. The thing is that you always need not create something very out of the box. If you check out the general things, okay, if I say you have to do something extraordinary in the fields of databases, so what you can do at most, you'll do joins and you'll do subqueries, you'll do transactions at max, and then you would say what new to do in it. The only thing that you can do is build on top of that. So if you have like very much experience in building web apps, try something that's not in that particular domain, or try clubbing technologies. Try clubbing your web app to the system calls that are being made. Try something that's not done previously. Yes, you can move forward with a web app. That's what I submitted, but then your code must be different from what the kind of code that people usually write, or the kind of code you get on blogs, or the kind of code you get on any courses. I've seen many a times people tend to follow courses, and then the project that they build in the course, they try to submit it off. So do not try it, because we all know the basic projects that are done in the courses. So do not assume that the course projects are actually the ones that are your projects. Try building something from scratch, and believe me, it will turn out to be unique, because when you are putting your entire thought process into it, the project would definitely be unique.
True. And Pragati, would you like to add something?
Sorry, I missed out the question, Aniket, due to some network
Actually,
issues.
it's in the comment section. Nitish is asking like he always think that what to do different while making projects. like how to be an extraordinary one, like how to make something unique.
Okay. I guess it's not always necessary to go unique. You should be sure of the concepts first. Like, if I am into web development, if I'm making a React project, I should be familiar with what are the concepts that sit behind React, or what are the things that I can use to build a React project. Um, as of, I guess, as Yash was suggesting, there many times as beginners, what we follow certain courses, and then in those courses, whatever the tutorials are there, we usually follow those projects blindly. So yeah, we should not be doing that. There are thousands of tutorials available, but those tutorials are not to teach us like how to build the project. You should just go through it, try to assimilate why those things are done in that way, and then try to build on your own. Like, the idea may not be unique, but firstly you should try building it on your own. You will get a thorough understanding of why certain things are done in that particular way. Like, you should try to understand the logic behind the working of that particular project. So that is the first thing that I guess we should be focusing on. Otherwise unique ideas come like on the go. You're making something, then you'll come up with something that can be done uniquely in a certain project. But one thing that you should be focusing on is the logic, and it should be your own logic, not copied from somewhere. I guess that will probably give you the confidence to work on anything unique that you think of later in the process.
Sure. And like Manish is asking that can he have a look on your projects? So is there any, like, it is open sourced or there is some restrictions?
Now my projects are on GitHub. I'll
No, no,
share the link
actually
with you.
the project which Yash made in MLH Fellowship program.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Facebook slash React Native. That's it. It's completely public, and if you have Facebook and Instagram app installed, you're probably using that code as well.
Are you guys into competitive coding and stuff? Uh, it has no correlation, I guess.
But the answer largely depends on what stuff he means.
Yes.
I do practice data structures and algorithms, but not too much into competitive coding. Like, I don't usually participate into contests that would be going on CodeChef, Codeforces, if that is meant by Unitish. So
Plus, just in case if you're in India, that's the basic criteria you need to get a job. So never leave that behind.
True. Yes, you should keep on practicing. Okay, I think that we have covered almost all the questions. If you guys have any other question, then you can comment it down. Okay, that's a cute casual question.
what's that casual question?
Competitive coding one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we should wrap it up now. Yeah. Thank you both of you. Like, it was an amazing session, and thank you for guiding us.
I would also say thank you to Yash for guiding me, because I'm like just enrolled, and I got to know a lot about MLH Fellowship from Yash in this session only. So that was kind of a learning uh, experience for me as well.
And all the best, Pragati, because just after one day you will be in the session, the main part.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank
Thank
you,
you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aniket, for having us. in this session. And thank you so much for all the people who were expecting answers from us. So I guess we have answered all of them.
And Manish, you can like connect with Yash and Pragati through the link in the description section on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Feel free to send any questions that you have. We'd be more than happy to help.
Yeah, so I'm
That is,
sending both of the LinkedIn profile links, so you can connect with them there. And all are there in the description section too.
I see a
Yeah,
question there. During the interview, do we have to start our camera too? Uh, yeah, it's actually written down in your invitation that you receive. Uh, you have to
they
put
check
on
your
your camera.
internet connection and camera, like they check both of these.
Yeah,
but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
mentioned
that's
in the description only, I guess.
But the best thing about the fellowship is we have had sessions in which we wanted to turn our cameras off when we are allowed to do so. So there's like after you join the fellowship, there's no hard and fast rule, but it's always recommended because at the end of the day you'll be working for about 3 months with those people. So get comfortable and viewing faces actually forms real connections, I guess, not
yeah.
like calls.
True.
So just try doing that.
Okay, so let's end this. Thank you both of you. Thank you everyone for joining.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.